What law school did you attend, and where did you place in that class? And the other question is, could you quickly, I think
I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship.
An extraordinary news conference today by a presidential candidate under fire. Joe Biden admitted to plagiarism back in law school. He did so amid accusations that some of his most effective speeches now include quotations from others without credit.
Biden released his record from Syracuse University Law School, where he graduated near the bottom of his class.
And I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
Delaware Senator Joseph Biden dropped out of the hunt today, saying the disclosures about his plagiarism in law school and his exaggerations about his academic record made it impossible for him to continue.
While at Syracuse Law School, Biden was involved in a plagiarism incident. He quoted 5 pages of someone else's work without proper citation. He was given an F, but appealed to the faculty and allowed to repeat the course. He got a B.
I do it with incredible reluctance, and it makes me angry. I'm angry with myself for having been put myself in the position.
Mr. Biden used 5 pages of published law review articles, of a published law review article without quotation or citation. That's precisely right.
This comes in the middle of another controversy about plagiarism in Biden's campaign speeches. Today, he dismissed charges that he routinely adopts phrases from other politicians' speeches, called it much ado about nothing.
Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children.
It cannot measure the health of our children,
the quality of their education,
the quality of our education,
or the joy of their play.
the joy of their play.
He has also quoted or paraphrased John Kennedy, Hubert Humphrey, and British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock, all without credit.
Why am I the first Kinnock in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why is Gladys the first woman in her family?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Was it because they were weak? Those people who could work 8 hours underground and then come up and play football?
My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania and who come up after 12 hours and play football.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent?
No, it's not because they weren't as smart.
Or the endurance, or the commitment. Of course not.
It's not because they didn't work as hard.
It was because
It's because
there was no platform
they didn't have a platform
upon which they could stand.
upon which to stand. That our generation of Americans will pay any price, bear any burden, accept any challenge, and meet any hardship.
President John Kennedy's inaugural, 1961.
Biden says, not to worry, he reassured his staff. He said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
The notion that every thought or notion or idea you'd have to go back and find and attribute to someone, I think is, quite frankly, ludicrous. When I marched in the civil rights movement, I did not march with a 12-point program. I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes.
And the New York Times reports, quote, more than once, advisors had gently reminded Mr. Biden of the problem with this formulation. He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood, kept telling the story anyway.
Come on, guys. I mean, this compared to the things that Democrats say the president is getting away with, that might be something that Democrats use to offset any potential gaffes or problems that arise during the campaign.
I mean, not only that, don't you go to the experts' website and lift some of their terminology and put it into your like?
That's what footnotes. But
you cite where you get your information from. Otherwise, it's plagiarism. That's what got him into trouble in the first place.
I hear you.
I watched what happened when the kids from Parkland marched up to, and I met with them, and then they went off to up on the Hill when I was vice president. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. We choose truth over facts.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
You got the first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright.
It's a large, very identifiable Somali community. I might add, if you ever come to the train station with me, you'll notice that I have great relationships with him because there's an awful lot who are driving cab.
Well, this pales in comparison, though, to Trump's lie count, 12,000 of them, according to the Washington Post, just in the first part of the first term of his presidency. This is what Biden's supporters are pointing out, that Biden may mix up his words and off-the-cuff remarks, but Trump, the most prolific liar in American history, is the one doing real harm.
What do we know about Joe Biden?
Everyone loves Joe Biden.
We know that he has misspoken throughout his entire career. He said stuff he didn't mean. He's mixed stuff up. He said stuff that was awkward. But we know Joe Biden. We know what he meant. We know he didn't mean that white kids are smarter than black kids or brown kids. He didn't mean that. We know him.
I promise you, if I'm elected president, you're going to see the single most important thing that changes America is we're going to cure cancer.